Tip News Daily.
Hey guys, Mike McDermott. Tip City, Ohio is just a little 10,000 person town just north of Dayton. Started 2 years ago with Tip News Daily, and it was born out of the death of the local newspapers. Basically, they all went bankrupt, and our town had no news. There was no one that was spreading the news. No one was, so there was lots of confusion. And being a kind of a web internet marketing guy, I said, let's build a site, let's put some news up there, and let's run with this. And in 1 year, we've captured the imaginations of people that enjoy hyperlocal reporting. We have 86 contributors. We have over 40 contributors that contribute a story once a week. So lots and lots of content getting generated by no journalists, right? Just all citizen reporters. And that was in the first year. This second year, we've actually started having journalists go in and give us all of the reports that hit the cutting floor for the other newspapers. Because we eventually did have another newspaper crop up in town, and we have reporters that are saying, hey, they're only covering, I write 10 stories a week. They only print one of my stories. So 9 of them go on here. And so when you start talking about quantity of content, that's really what we're focusing on, is the quantity of the content and the person and the direct personability of the content that's created. So in the past year, we've learned specifically that the people read news from our resource. We became the only news resource around in the town, and now this second year, what we found is that we're getting highly referred and referenced by large news organizations, regional news organizations, and things like that. Syndicating articles on Google News, things like that. They're extremely important for our publication and for our town. So that's what I'd like to learn this year. I think it kind of focuses on how to handle advertisers, how to handle going in and churning up more revenue for the site, specifically so that we can pay the folks that contribute the most, right, to the site. We still want to stay a place that citizen reporters can go in and give a story to us, but those folks that go in and write those really fascinating, really engaging stories and stuff, we'd love to go in and put some money where our mouth is. So.
And Vermont Digger.
And I'm the founder and editor and publisher and chief dishwasher at vtdigger.org. And we're a statewide news website for Vermont. We cover state politics and policy, and we try to make it interesting by giving people the lowdown on what's really going on in the State House. Right now, we're still in the middle of covering Tropical Storm Irene, which had a devastating impact on our state. So this year, I've learned how to play well with others. I went from being a one-person website really to solidifying a relationship with a very solid board of trustees who represent philanthropic organizations and businesses in the state. And then we have staff, which is like amazing. And so we're starting to really boost the content on the site, and we're hoping to learn how to really push grassroots marketing this year, because I think that's really the key to building sponsorships and potential events and other fundraising mechanisms.
Wells Park Bulldog.
Patrick Boylan, and we are here in Chicago with the Wells Park Bulldog. I'm trying to determine how old that picture is. We believe in passion, we believe in following our passion and heading for our high ground. And we have not abandoned that. I think the last year has confirmed that, and we're very happy with that idea of following our passion.
West of the Eye. Darren?
Hi, I'm Darren from westoftheeye.com. I was here last year, and we had only been operating a little over a year at that time, and we certainly had plenty of feedback that people were reading our website and using it, et cetera, throughout the usual channels. One thing I think that's interesting that we learned in the last year is that people aren't just reading us, they're depending on us. And more that we're finding that we're the go-to source for our area, and that we're getting that feedback in various ways. One interesting way is through some of the freelancers that work for us that also work for other media. When they're in our area, the feedback we're getting now is, oh yeah, when I walk up to the cops at the accident to take pictures, they always assume I'm working for you now, instead of the newspaper or the daily newspaper or the weekly newspaper. There in our area, and also the nickname that I developed. More and more people on the street, I will hear behind me, hey, west of the eye guy. So it's a great opener. So
Nice, it's got a nice ring.
I recommend getting a name of your site that rhymes with guy, so they can do that for you too. And my wife is the co-owner of the site, and she sells the advertising, and she would say, the thing we've learned in the last year is how to come up with more premium priced advertising up at the top of the page that we didn't think we could do last year, and we figured out ways to do. We'd like to learn about, we've tentatively launched an expansion in a neighboring area, and I'll be looking for ideas of how to do that, because it's a different animal for us. It's community next to us, and one which we were familiar with and which I worked in as a journalist, but not our home community. So we'll be thinking about that, and also mobile.
West Philly Local.
Hi, my name is Yulia Kulneva. I'm one of the owners of the site, together with my husband, Mike, who couldn't make it here. So we launched last December, and the most important thing we learned is no news is too small for our area, and also what we try to work on is to involve our readers also in kind of gathering news. So our readers participate a lot, and they send us information, and that was one of the goals at the beginning, to involve people in the area, in the neighborhood. So we're like true neighborhood news source. That's what we think we are. And for next year, we're trying to so since we started getting already requests about advertising, but we haven't really worked on that yet, so we kind of keep telling people we're working at it, and it's kind of bad, so people really want to do this now. So we want to kind of work on our advertising strategy, and we want to expand a little bit, cover more areas, and also probably expand our audience, because we know that more people, there are more people in our area, in our neighborhood, that would be interested in, reading our news, and we're not reaching out to them yet. So the goal is to kind of find the ways to reach out to more people. So.
West Seattle blog, Patrick, are you here?
2 weeks ago, while I stayed home and watched all 3 of our high school football teams get washed and waxed and ground into the AstroTurf, the rest of the family went down to Portland to see a one-man, 24-hour-long theater piece. The fellow doing the theater piece began and ended it with the same sentence: "There is not enough time to tell you everything you need to know." We took that as an omen. And we decided that we were going to finally, be good with that statement without wringing our hands. And I am pleased to report that we've made it almost 15 minutes. As far as next year goes, we launched a survey earlier this year. I have somebody in place to do focus groups, and I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but we're changing our design, and that means that we will be dropping out of our Ironman contest with Matt Grudge to see who can hang on to the outmoded design the longest.
Windy Citizen from Chicago.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brad. I'm the founder of Windy Citizen. And about a year ago, we got funding to take some of the things that we were doing with online advertising and spin them off as a new business. So in the last year, learned how to raise venture capital, how to work with like big, massive newspapers that don't like working with anybody and don't like anybody. And I've learned a lot about online advertising. So like all the sketchy stuff you read about in the Wall Street Journal, I can do that now. And it's really, really fascinating and interesting. And if anyone wants to know kind of about some of the different advertising stuff that the big agencies are doing these days, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I'm hoping, I would like to learn more about how we can help you guys. We've figured out within reason how we can help the really large publishers and how that makes sense for a small startup like us. But we haven't yet figured out how to scale that to smaller publishers that have a lot of the same needs. So I'm hoping to learn some of that this weekend.
Wildfile.
Hi, I am Kelly Staton with Wildfile. I was actually hired as development director about 3 weeks to a month ago. So I do not have a question or an answer to question 1. I have a huge list of answers to question 2. I come from development and fundraising and nonprofit management background, but no journalism, no online news. So this is part of a crash course that I'm taking, which is learn as quickly about that side of it to try to marry the two and generate some revenue. One of our biggest challenges is growing our readership and building awareness. We have this vast geographic region of Wyoming with less than 500,000 people. So we're filling a niche because all of the newspapers are all small rural newspapers with very little resources. So we are able to go in and do the in-depth investigative reporting, but to try to brand ourselves and reach out to our target audience. I was our target audience, and I did not know about Wildfile until I was hired. So that's my job, is to try to find me and reach out to the people like me that I know would be very interested that this is out there. Thanks.
Yellowstone Gate.
I recruited Kelly to take my job at Wildfile, so it's kind of good the order we're going in here. For the past year, I worked as managing editor at Wildfile, 2 full-time staffers, an editor and myself, covering the whole state of Wyoming. And I guess what I learned over the last year is 2 people is not enough to cover an entire state. And so I also knew that we had to, I couldn't do reporting, editing, website management, bookkeeping, bill paying, and then also go out and do fundraising as well. So we knew we had to hire a specialist to do that, so we brought in Kelly, and that has freed me up to pursue a new goal, which is in November I plan to launch Yellowstone Gate. And rather than covering the whole state of Wyoming with 500,000 people, I'm going to cover my city park, Yellowstone Park, which is the size of Delaware and Rhode Island combined, and the surrounding gateway communities, which only have about 50,000 residents or less for that whole area. What I learned at Wildfile is that there is a desperate need for good news and good reporting, and that we had good success getting other newspapers to republish what we did. So it makes me confident that Yellowstone and Grand Teton Parks, which have no full-time beat reporter covering them locally in our area, is an area that we think we can get local and regional media to pick up whatever coverage I can do from Yellowstone Gate. What I'm looking to learn over the next year is, as a one-person startup, from those of you that have been down that road before, what's the best way to divide my time between reporting, selling ads, managing the website, the different hats that you have to wear.